Welcome, and thank you for taking time out of your day as we present to you information about the upcoming special election question on the August 2nd ballot. If you're watching this at one of the scheduled public meetings, there will be a question and answer session to follow. Anyone watching online can reach out to the City of McPherson with any follow-ups that they might have. Our goal today is to educate you, the citizens of McPherson, on what exactly this decision means as we aim to sustain our progress and continue to move the community into the future. Today, we hope you will learn about why renewing the second half-cent sales tax is important, what the proceeds of past half-cent sales taxes have paid for, and what the funds of the proposed renewal can be used for. We will focus on 4 areas that will be impacted by this decision: public works, the police department, the museum, and public lands and facilities. But first, let's get into a little bit of the history of what we are focusing on. The city has 2 half-cent sales taxes imposed. The first half-cent sales tax primarily funds the street department and street and drainage related projects. It was first implemented in January of 2010 and ended in December of 2020. A vote, though, in 2017 extended this tax from January of 2021 to December of 2030. What is referred to as the second half-cent sales tax is what we're focused on today. It was implemented in October of 2013 and sunsets in September of 2023. If elected, this tax would simply carry over from that point. This sales tax funded very worthy projects such as the reconstruction of First Street, the renovation of the community building, Phase 1 of the Northview Hike and Bike Trail, and the Wall Park tennis courts. So why a sales tax? Well, the city has 2 funding options available. Ad valorem tax, which is tax on the value of property, more commonly called property tax. The second option is sales tax. Sales tax is on the cost of goods sold. Each tax has its pros and cons. The pros and cons all depend on your perspective. Ad valorem tax is imposed only on residents that own property. To increase total tax dollars, the mill levy has to be increased. When it comes to property tax, the city does not benefit from transference. Transference is when people other than the locals help pay. Sales tax is imposed on everyone. Using sales tax helps keep that mill levy down, everyone contributes, and it has been estimated that sales tax has 30% transference rate. In other words, 30% of the tax revenue is generated from those who do not reside within the city. A lot of negative information has been broadcast regarding how high property taxes are in our community. However, as you can see here, McPherson is actually very competitive with cities of similar size and neighboring communities. So again, utilizing a sales tax for various needs helps keep the mill levy lower. And that half-cent sales tax we're focusing on today generates an estimated $1.6 million per year that can be allotted to tasks or projects within the community. Why is this coming up now? Well, the benefits of renewing this now are to allow for budget planning, project development, and performing continuous improvement. Not only that, but it also allows time for public input for future projects. But how will that money be spent? If passed, the funds generated from the continuation of the second half-cent sales tax would be divided into 4 areas. 70% will go toward street and drainage projects, 5% for law enforcement projects, 5% for museum facilities and support, and the final 20% for public lands and facilities projects. It is very important to remember that this is not a proposal for an additional tax. It just extends one of the current sales taxes for 10 years to fund deserving projects. A specific sales tax can only be in place for up to 10 years at a time. After that, the question has to be taken back to citizens for a vote. Several public meetings have been scheduled to discuss this topic. Please refer to the city's website at www.mcpcity.com for a complete list of dates and times. All public meetings will be held at the community building. As we've already discussed, the first area impacted would be public works and more specifically, streets and drainage. McPherson has 87 miles of street networks, 48.9 miles of asphalt, 30.6 miles of concrete, 1.3 miles of brick and is rounded out by 0.28 miles of gravel. The city has a pavement management system in place that takes several factors into account. Factors like traffic count, percent of trucks, pavement thickness, and subgrade strength. Cost, of course, is the most significant factor. The formula displayed on the screen is used to determine areas of focus. Not all projects are necessarily prioritized using this formula. However, this does help provide a base for putting together a list of those needed projects. Here is an example of just how expensive street projects are. A total reconstruction completed by an outside contractor costs in the neighborhood of $230,000 per block. Full depth resurfacing costs an average of $145,000 per block. In-house reconstruction projects that we partner with the county come in at around $40,000 per block, and a simple mill and overlay at about $27,000 per block. City staff does everything they can do to keep those costs down. The city crushes concrete and asphalt rubble and reuses the material, performs as much work as possible in-house, partners with the county, performs preventative maintenance, and leverages state and federal grants with city funds, and sometimes solicits donations. From its inception in 2010, the first half-cent sales tax has funded many projects. We won't spend too much time to get into each in detail, but you can see the list is extensive. A total of 25 projects at a cost of just over $13 million have been accomplished. When the first half-cent sales tax was renewed in 2017, citizens picked 2 projects in each quadrant of the city. To date, 6 of those 8 projects have been completed. Hickory Street and Skanky Street are the only projects left on the list. These projects are in the works and will be completed as soon as practical. In 2020, the city started total reconstructions performed by street department staff. The 800 block of Wheeler was the first street in this experiment. The total street was removed and widened approximately 2.5 feet on each side. The existing soil was cut to grade to allow for 6 inches of crushed concrete base. New curb and gutters were then constructed and 6 inches of asphalt millings were packed in between. In the next construction season, after traffic is aided with packing the surface over an extended period of time, the top 2 inches of millings were cut out and replaced with hot mix asphalt. The total cost of this project was $43,000 plus street department labor. This process worked so well that the same thing was planned for the 800 block of Elm, the 800 block of Ash, and a large portion of East Lakeside Drive. Each of these 3 projects are scheduled to be overlaid and completed this fall. Earlier this year, that process was completed on the 1100 block of Linden. Today, street department staff is working on the 900 block of Elm. There are a few drawbacks to this less costly method. There is a fair amount of dust, and the milling surface will washboard and develop potholes after rain events. Maintenance has to continue until the hot mix overlay is completed. However, we have been able to reconstruct several blocks that would not have been improved for many years otherwise. The plan is to reconstruct 25 more blocks at the rate of 2 to 3 per year. Linden and the 900 block of Elm will be overlaid in the fall of 2023. There is also another key project coming up. The city received a City Connecting Link Improvement Project for the reconstruction of the intersection of the 81 bypass and Kansas Avenue. This project has been awarded in the amount of $660,000 and will be constructed this summer. During construction, east to westbound traffic will be carried through and north to southbound traffic will be detoured. Next, let's take a look at the drainage projects recently completed. The Elm Street storm sewer was upsized from Kansas Avenue to Euclid and from Elm to Ash down Marlin and Euclid. This project alleviated a lot of flooding downtown. The ditch was improved through Countryside Park to help alleviate standing water. A detention pond was built north of Garden Lane, south of the BPU substation, west of Trail West, and east of Main Street. Trickle channel and underground piping was installed to drain the backyards of properties in that area. The Sacrete retaining walls around Wall Park are deteriorating. A contract is in place to remove the old wall and install a new lock and load system retaining wall. That project will start in July of 2022. Let's take a look now at some of the projects that the current second half-cent sales tax is funded. This is the tax that began in 2013, sunsets in 2023, and is the focus of the upcoming special election. The initial project was the total reconstruction of First Street, from Hospital Drive to Cedars Drive, Hardup, and Hill. Next was the renovation of the community building, which is now used extensively for community and private gatherings, as well as sporting events and a variety of other activities. People love the historic feel of Globe Refiners Court. And Citizens Hall has proven to be a hotspot for wedding receptions, high school dances like homecoming and prom, the community Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners, and a plethora of other large gatherings. This tax also funded Phase 1 of the North U Trail 10-foot sidewalk. It also funded the Wall Park Tennis Courts, which in 2019 was selected as a USTA Complex of the Year. There are several areas that could be the focus of future street repairs. Listed here are some of those top candidates, but the city welcomes suggestions for projects not on this list. If the sales tax is passed, additional streets will be reconstructed and mill and overlay efforts will triple. Currently, $200,000 is budgeted per year for mill and overlay projects. The City Commission is committed to increase that to $600,000 per year. The Commission is also seeking public input on future drainage projects. Here again is a list of top possibilities identified by various reviews and drainage studies. Let's shift gears and talk about how this sales tax could impact public safety and address needs from our local law enforcement. In 1990, the McPherson Police Department and McPherson Fire Department were sharing a building at 312 East Kansas Avenue. The police department at the time had 30 employees when McPherson County agreed to build a law enforcement center and lease space to the city. That law enforcement center was finished in 1993 and to this day houses the McPherson Police Department, McPherson County Sheriff's Office, McPherson County Communications, or Dispatch, and the McPherson County Jail. Over the past 30 years, all four departments have grown, but stayed together in the same building. Today, the McPherson Police Department has 65 employees providing vital public safety service to the community. McPherson County Dispatch now occupies the training room, which in the past was often used by the police department and sheriff's office. These departments now are forced to find other locations in the community to hold trainings and meetings. The police department is limited to only 8 offices within the building. As you can see in some of these pictures, offices are overcrowded because they are used for storage, meetings, and equipment. The patrol office is shared by 20 employees and has become the only workspace for their reports, their dining area and break room, armory, evidence collection room, and storage. Making matters worse, every office is also used for storage of equipment. And evidence for cases is kept in the basement. This room has a lack of ventilation, so officers are exposed daily to chemicals and odors. Some evidence must be kept for 100 years depending on the case and cannot be destroyed. The evidence room is now overflowing and the police department has to pay for storage off-site. Facing another obstacle, police response times are often prolonged by the trains on the west side of town. 81 Bypass, Avenue A, Kansas Avenue, Woodside Street, and First Street, making the current location less than ideal. The Law Enforcement Center also has a severe lack of parking spaces for visitors, employees, and department vehicles. A portion of the half-cent sales tax would help cover design and planning costs to address current needs and future expansion. A portion of the half-cent sales tax will also be devoted to the McPherson Museum. The museum has maintained a presence in McPherson since 1890, where it began as part of McPherson College. It has moved several times since then, and currently the museum is located on East Kansas and is operated by the McPherson Museum and Arts Foundation. The museum's collections make up a strong selection of exhibits tied to McPherson's rich history. Though much of the collection came from McPherson College's early years, the museum has collected a significant amount of its artifacts from McPherson residents and businesses over the last 130 years. When assessing artifacts in the collection, careful consideration is given to ensuring items add to the cultural and historic value of McPherson's story. The McPherson community has a tremendous jewel with the museum facility, which was built to preserve McPherson's continued history. Over $5 million was raised for the current facility initially, with hopes of continued fundraising to create a museum that reflects the values of the community, featuring fully completed exhibits. Though the museum has successfully displayed several larger permanent exhibits, many of the artifacts and associated storylines have not yet been displayed or presented to their full potential due to monetary constraints. The need for final building funds and exhibit completion still exists. While there is enough space in the facility, exhibits can only be planned and installed as funds become available. As the building has grown, so have costs to operate and maintain it. Much the same as many other museums, recent health and economic factors have impacted revenue, and limited funds have stayed focused on operations and paying long-term debt on the building. Preserving the museum is critical. 5% of a half-cent sales tax would generate just under $1 million over a 10-year period. The majority of those proceeds would go directly toward paying the outstanding mortgage balance on the building, which is approximately $620,000. The remaining portions would be focused on finishing promised and developing other exhibits. Those funds, along with planned fundraising campaigns, would put the museum in the best possible position to be successful for years to come. A sustained effort to create an endowment, along with the focused fundraising campaign, would ensure the sustainability of the facility for the future. Sales tax proceeds would provide a tremendous opportunity to help complete exhibits and improve overall value of the museum to the public. Now let's go outside and take a look at some of our parks and our other public facilities. City of McPherson Public Lands and Facilities proudly takes care of public properties such as the parks, water park, cemetery, and Turkey Creek Golf Course, along with other city buildings. These facilities are a vital part of McPherson's community, and it's critical to make sure enough funds are available to maintain and preserve them. Currently, there are several structures in need of repair or replacement, which a half-cent sales tax renewal could help fund so citizens can safely enjoy them again and continue to do so. In a 2020 online survey, citizens selected how public lands and facilities projects should be prioritized. Wall Park Playground was chosen as that top priority, followed by the San Romani Bandshell and the Lakeside Park restrooms. Due to safety concerns, the 34-year-old Wall Park Playground had to be removed in 2018. Since then, significant efforts have been made to raise funds for the replacement from donations. However, more funds are needed. The half-cent sales tax renewal would allow for purchase and installation of an inclusive new playground in Wall Park. The August San Romani Memorial Bandshell was originally built in 1939. Despite its historic and design significance, parts of the bandshell structure have fallen into disrepair. The bandshell is a unique piece of local architecture, and with the potential renovations, it could become a prime spot for new programming and many of the events hosted at Lakeside Park. The existing restroom building near Lakeside Park Shelters 1, 2, and 3, and near Children with Dreams Playground, was originally built in 1959. It is a heavily used facility in the park. That restroom facility is in need of a replacement with a new ADA-compliant restroom building. Another popular public facility is the McPherson Water Park. This facility was originally funded by a half-cent sales tax, but it is nearing 20 years old. The water park requires continuous maintenance projects, from pool features and mechanical system replacement to pool deck repairs. Safety is always a top priority in the operation of this family-friendly attraction. Turkey Creek Golf Course was built in 1990. It was voted among the top 5 public golf courses in Kansas. It has already undergone several projects with the help of public and private funding sources. Erosion control projects and replacement of a 32-year-old irrigation system are needed to maintain this beautiful and valuable facility. If the second half-cent sales tax fails to get renewed, progress will slow. City infrastructure will continue to age, and keeping up the pace and progress could be a struggle. In addition, our local law enforcement is facing many challenges as needs grow. Changes are a must to keep up with job demand, a growing department, and the vital need for evidence integrity. As well, preserving our history should be of utmost importance. Again, 2 things to keep in mind as we leave you here today. What is proposed is not an additional tax. It is simply an extension of one that already is in place. And the city, again, would benefit from 30% transference from sales tax. Thank you once again for your time here today. Please remember to vote August 2nd, and if you have questions, feel free to attend one of the remaining scheduled public meetings or contact any of the city commissioners or call the city offices. Your call will be directed to the appropriate person to best answer. Thank you.